Hi, everyone. I'd like to take a moment to welcome Jessica George from Hypothesis, and she is going to show us some of the new tools or the upgrade in the tool of Hypothesis, and then we will have some opportunities to ask her questions. Thank you, Jessica. The floor is yours, and you can share your screen whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Janet. Thanks for having me here. And I am going to share my screen. I'll also be dropping this slide deck into chat because there are a few resources linked out in it, and I think they might be helpful to you all. So my understanding is that you've gone through the idea of the basics of the tool, how to set up assignments and so on. So I'm here to review some new features that we have. And the first one that I want to go over is at mentions. And I am actually going to just double check to make sure that it's enabled at Cerritos. Okay, yes. Sorry, I should have checked that beforehand. Okay, so if you are a user of Hypothesis previously and um, you are familiar with the reply and the threaded discussion, you'll know that one of the kind of annoying things at the time was that you couldn't tag someone back into discussion when you were replying to them. So this actually is a development, a new feature that we released in April. So you can at users within your class list or within your small reading group. So for instructors and students, what this means is you'll use the @ sign on your keyboard or the @ sign in the sidebar itself. It will pull up your full class list or the full list of everyone in your group. So if you're using small reading groups, it's only going to show the students within that group. But you can tag a user and they'll receive an email notification that someone has tagged them, and that hopefully will um, help support continuing conversation throughout the week. For some technical kind of knowledge, students can change the frequency of the emails. So if they don't want to receive um, emails on Monday, for instance, the first time they receive a notification, there will be an option to change frequency, and that way they can decide when is best for them to receive those notifications. And there's also an option to unsubscribe altogether. So this is most useful for a particularly diligent student who's in their readings and doesn't need that kind of notification. So just something to be aware of if you do have a student asking about that. And there are some resources on @ mentions in the slide deck, and one of them should link out to our help article, which has information about how to unsubscribe or to change frequency of those emails um, for students. So I'm going to check chat. If you do have questions about any of these features that I'm reviewing, feel free to drop those in chat or come off mic, and I'm happy to answer those.
And Jessica, I will keep you notified for sure, so you don't have
Okay,
to worry about
awesome.
it. Yeah.
Thank you. The next big feature that I wanted to go over is image annotation, which rolled out at the end of June of this summer. So what is available in Canvas and Hypothesis right now is kind of the first stage. So it is PDF images. So if you have PDFs that you're using that contain both texts and visual texts, I suppose, those are now available for image annotation. This is going to roll out in stages, and the next image type is the art store frame. There's a certain kind of image file type that ArtStore uses. And so we're working with our partnership with JSTOR to enable image annotation for art store artifacts as well, and then JPEGs and TIFFs and so on. But the first stage is PDFs. And I want to actually show you what this looks like and how you might use it. So one of the big um, kind of draws we think for image annotation will not be just visual studies and art history and history using primary sources and so on, but actually STEM courses that might be using graphs and um, charts, or health sciences using anatomical diagrams and things like that. So I like this because this OER example, because it shows text alongside images. And the way this feature will work is there's two options. One is a rectangular annotation and one is a pin annotation. So for rectangular annotation, you can select a particular portion of the visual. In the annotation sidebar, it will populate what has been selected. You can create a thumbnail description, which will function as kind of an additional alt text artifact for students who might be using assistive technologies, and then the actual comment, an analytical comment that you're making as an instructor or a student. And then you can post as as you see fit there. Um, the other way to do an image annotation is a pin annotation, and this will drop a pin on a very specific part of the text, but the annotation card will function similarly. So you can create a thumbnail description and add your analytical comment, but what will happen is the pin will appear and then the area around it. In the annotation card, the pin is, I guess, like fully opaque. On the reading or the text that you're using, it will be a little bit transparent, so there is more of a specific idea of what exactly is being pinned. So there were some engineering discussions about that, and that this is the user experience they decided on for various reasons, but um, those are the two functions for image annotation. And I will also pull up an example of a art. This is kind of a silly example, but this is a just an idea for an art history text. So we have an image of or a painting of a cat. Um, or is it? And then there are some ideas about how in an art history class or whatever it might be, you might be annotating this text. Um, so I've done a couple of um, kind of informative short videos about image annotation. And in one of them, um, I share an idea for rhetorical analysis. So I occasionally teach composition classes, and when I taught in person, sometimes I would do warm-ups with a visual text, and we would practice, describing what we see and asking questions about what we see. And I could see that being helpful in English and literature courses as well, to practice the critical analysis skills. If you wanted to, you could, and your class has technology in it. If you teach a face-to-face class, that is, you could project the image and do a kind of like waterfall activity where people pick a particular point on the visual text and describe what they see, that kind of thing, and then all post at the same time. So there's ways to get creative with this, not only as like a formal assignment, but more enabling kind of conversation in class as well, whether you're teaching synchronous online or face to face. So that's the basics of image annotation. And um, yeah, there's lots of creative ways you could end up using this. A couple of not as new features, but ones that thought might be helpful to cover. And these are the last two that I'll maybe last three I'll bring up are instructor reporting dashboards, auto grading, and the ability to export your own instructor annotations. So those are the last three things I'll cover. Um, so the first is instructor reporting dashboards, and I'm going to move into um, my other demo here. We use this one because it's cleaner. We're always deleting and removing annotations from our other demo environment, so the dashboard is a little less clear. So every assignment that you build and students annotate will have dashboard information. And you may or may not find this useful for your particular classroom context, but just so that you know, if you open up any assignment, you can navigate to your little person icon and open dashboard. And this is going to bring you to kind of a bird's eye view of what's going on in the assignment. Your assignments will always have the student's name, annotations, replies, and last activity. If you've enabled auto grading, there will also be the auto grading information there, but otherwise you won't see that grade column. So this allows you to see the latest activity that a student has made on a text and so on. And if you are teaching multiple hypothesis assignments, you can kind of follow the carrots back and move through any of your assignments from this page. So you could open any assignment to get to another assignment in the instructor dashboard. Uh, I assume that you all saw the auto grading options when setting up an assignment. So there's
Can
different.
you, Jessica, can you share that
Mhm.
with them? And I do want to say that myself and a few people had issues with that last year. Like I would choose it and then I didn't see it working. So can you please show that?
Yes, yeah, of course. So I am going to do a really quick assignment setup here just with placeholder language so that you all can see this. So I'm going through setting up an assignment. I'm going to add some point values, selecting hypothesis and my file from the file picker. All right. So this is the window where you'll see the auto participation grading options. If you want to enable that, you'll select, and there's two different kind of choices that you'll need to make here. The first is grading type. So do you want partial grading or all or nothing grading? Most people are going to select partial. And then how do you want the grades to be calculated? Cumulatively or separately? So this will be top level annotations and replies to peers. That's what this means. So I'm just going to select 2 and 2, um, and I'll press continue. I think you probably already went over this, but this is not an AI tool. It's a simple quantitative tally. So if you're wanting to ensure students are making quality annotations, that would still be something you'll need to spot check with them. We see this as kind of a supporting tool. So there's some other substantive discussion or activity happening alongside this this auto grading or auto graded assignment. I'm going to go ahead and press continue. Um, I'll press select, and I would press save and publish in this demo environment. I'm not going to do that because our product team likes this particular environment to be clean. But I'm going to go back into this example. So once students begin annotating and you've decided, it's time to sync those grades to the dashboard, you'll navigate to your instructor dashboard through that path that I showed you. And I'm in the wrong one, I think, here. I'm going to go back to my other one. You will see a green button that says sync grades, and there will be grades here, but they'll all say new, which means they haven't been synced to Canvas yet. So, Janet, my guess is that there was something going on with the sync button, like either it wasn't being synced or something else may have been happening. Does that pathway seem familiar to you?
Um, no, but we can talk about it after. Like we can set up
Okay.
a conversation after. Yeah.
I will say that the main troubleshooting that I've seen with this tool is that instructors will set up the auto grading thresholds and students will do their annotations. And um, this would be like a missing step.
This is
Um,
the last step. So what you're
mhm.
saying is you need to go into the assignment, click on your little person, and then click on grades. You click on grade sync. Okay. I did miss that step, and I'm sure everybody that I spoke with did. Okay.
And I have a really short, like 2-minute video that goes over the steps. I'll share it with you, Janet. So
Thank
if you
you.
ever get anyone having that question, that should solve it. So
Perfect.
yes, there's
I'll add it
there's
to the
a
handout, everybody. All
there's a
right.
little button that appears here, and maybe I can show in my other demo environment what that might look like. I'm not sure if I have anything set up in those ones, but I'll check. Um, But yes, once you have that set up, you should be good to go. And that'll push the grades back to Canvas. A couple of other things you'll want to know about auto grading, this doesn't have it enabled, is you can override a student's grade in SpeedGrader. So if you want to give them a higher grade than what was assigned in by the auto grader, or you want to give them a lower grade, you can go back into SpeedGrader and override grades, add comments that students are still going to see in the grade book. There isn't a space in the instructor dashboard to add comments, but you can do that still in SpeedGrader. It's not one or the other. And then also, if you have a student who maybe does their annotations late, maybe they were sick or something like that, and you only want to push that student's new annotations back to the gradebook, you can actually like select a single student and push their grade to the gradebook. There will be a little tag here that says new, and the button, the sync grades button will be here, and you can just select one student's grade to update. So that's another kind of consideration. There's some flexibility in whose grades you're sending to the gradebook. So that's those are a couple other notes. Um, and then finally, I wanted to just review as you're doing your course setups. It can be handy to know that I know that many instructors use like a primary reading at the beginning of the semester, every term. And it could be that you have this great set of instructor guiding annotations that you want to reuse across sections or across terms, even across small reading groups. You can download those annotations using the export feature. So I am navigating to the little, it's kind of an arrow looking button in my top right hand side of the sidebar. And I will select, well, I have kind of a couple different roles in this demo environment, but I'll select the instructor's annotations. Um, I will select JSON. That's the file type that you would need to download and then import back into your new terms readings. You'll press export. Um, and then let's say I've set up my new reading. There aren't any annotations on it. In that new reading, I will select import. I will select my JSON file that I downloaded and import those into my reading. And that will populate the reading with the annotations in exactly the places where I had them previously in the previous term. One thing to note about this is that it will populate with the instructor's name, who is like the instructor for the new term. So if you're what I mean by that is if like one instructor is sharing annotations with another instructor, the second instructor, it will appear as they have authored those annotations. So just something to note if that's important to you. But in most cases, it'll likely be, you like one instructor doing this exporting and importing. Um, Another thing that I will bring up related to export import, and I'm just going to get to another file that I have with this, um, is that you can download a full record of annotations using that same tool. And I'm going to see if I can quickly show you what that looks like. Um, yes, okay. So this can be handy if you're trying to do some kind of, I don't know, like analysis of annotations in your class for research or for your own like teaching portfolio or whatever it might be. So if you were to export your class's annotations as a CSV, which is also a file option in that same tab, this is the information you'll get. The timestamp, the author, which would include, your students' names. If you are using a URL in the assignment, it will have the URL that was pulled into the tool. Your group, which would be your class a name, the annotation type, so whether it was a top level annotation or a reply, what was being highlighted when the comment was made, and the comment, and then any tags that were incorporated into the annotation card. So this might be a little like too much information, but some instructors have asked us if there is a way to do this because maybe they're wanting to do some type of like analysis of social annotation in their classes. And then I had another instructor ask about it because um, they were looking for something kind of midway between the bird's eye view of the instructor dashboard and the granular level of SpeedGrader. So they wanted to be able to download a CSV and kind of just sort students' names and then kind of take a just quick pass like this, which I hadn't thought of before until this person emailed me like a week ago. So I suppose you could use it that way too. Um, but I will go ahead and stop sharing, um, and I'll give some time for questions if there are any.
Excellent. I appreciate that, Jessica. And I do want to point out how wonderful that is and encouraging for you to be able to put your own commentary on a text and then be able to download it and save it. And you only need to download it once. Like I said, you need to scan your text once and OCR it, and then it's in, you upload it to Canvas and it's there. That's where the work is. We had one professor, and Mark, I don't know when you use this tool, but he
Yeah,
had a hard time
yeah.
finding
Well, it's actually
notifications.
Jen, it's related to this what Jessica was just talking about. So I made annotations on a text and I uploaded it as a hypothesis assignment, but I tried to copy it to another course, and when I went to go copy it to another course, I couldn't access it. It just wouldn't open. And I was like, okay, what's going on? And then I called IT and they said, well, we have to add you to the course as a student in order to access the file. So that was the issue. And then when I finally did open it, my annotations were gone. It was just a text clean without any annotation. So from what I'm hearing, what you just said, it looks like that I might have to download the text with the annotations and then re-upload it for each class that I do that assignment in.
Yeah, the annotations don't follow like with the course copy,
Yeah.
or across like a section or small reading group. Um, and not as important for an instructor, I suppose, but for students, like that's like just a FERPA thing, you wouldn't want their
Yeah,
annotations
yeah.
copying.
No, but
But
like my
yeah,
annotations, yeah.
the only way that you would be able to, like, let's say you use the same reading from semester to semester, once you've copied the new reading into your course, I'm not sure why they said that you had to be a student. That doesn't sound right to me. But maybe we can connect like
Yeah.
individually about that. But for any instructor wanting to recycle like the same set of guiding annotations on a reading, you would need to re-import those every semester onto the like new version of the reading. One of the only other thing I can think of is sometimes during course copy, like the assignment will be copied, but whoever's doing the copying forgets to copy over the like file that's being like that's paired with the hypothesis
Mhm.
assignment.
Right.
Sometimes that can be a troubleshooting issue. So I wonder if that was the case, but it sounds like they may have been confused about what you were trying to do.
Oh, yeah.
So if you still have a question about that, feel free to email me or the support team and we can help you out with that. I think that that's a one we could fix once I have a better understanding of what's going on there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's downloading your annotation, Mark, your annotations only, not the text, just yours. You save it at what type of save was it, Jessica? It was a dot what
It's a JSON file,
JSON.
and
JSON?
I'll send
Yeah.
the resources to you, Janet,
Yeah.
so you can forward them on to the people here.
Excellent. Yeah, and then you upload and then you have to, like I said, the most important thing is that when you do the assignment again, anytime you're using an external tool, you have to go through and open up that tool again, and then you have to select the file again. And so that's the thing you're doing again each time because you need a fresh copy that has not been annotated on. And then you would upload or import those annotations. So I know that it was good to see the processes that you were doing because like I tried the auto grading and I just didn't do the last part ever. And so I never saw it because I was like, oh, it doesn't work for me. So just sometimes it's something little, Mark. And so something little, and then you're like, oh, that's not a big deal. I can fix that. So hopefully that's the case. Um, there was a question from another professor about what you have found or people have reported, because she asked what Elizabeth, and you could speak up if you'd like, like the best use cases or what the best types of assignments. And I said, well, of course, I like my assignment, you know. So, but you hear from a lot of people, and what are some of the assignments that teachers like to use over and over or find that students value?
Yeah, as far as distinct assignments, I know that like the annotate your syllabus assignment is popular at the beginning of the semester. That's one that comes up for me, just having students annotate the syllabus to ask questions and get familiar with the tool. Um, but as far as, term assignments go, it's used in all sorts of ways. Um, but I would say if you're trying out the tool, just keeping it simple with what do you find interesting or what questions are coming up for you. Uh, just encouraging simple steps to have students dig into the reading. And then as they become more comfortable in the tool, maybe that's a good time to introduce more specific, you know, types of questions you want them to be asking or particular analytical moves you want them to be making. Um, but I think even like sticking with simple can be good, like the first couple of assignments, just as people get used to the tool and kind of get familiar with how it can work and how you can really develop conversations on top of it. I think one thing to kind of note is that um, if there's very specific skills you want students to be practicing, sometimes those more prescriptive instructions are really important and they'll guide students to, that skill that they um, need to be trying out. Um, but sometimes that can restrict the more informal type of community building that other instructors like to see. So I think there's some trade-offs that happen with leaving an assignment more open versus having it very tailored to, particular rhetorical moves you want them to be doing on the text or that kind of thing. And I think you'll get a feel for that as you, use the tool more and get comfortable with it.
Thank you. And I do want to point out, in case I didn't, your annotations, especially if you create them on the text and then you download them and you import them, the ACCJC accreditors will see that as RSI on your part. So it's a good way, an easy way to do RSI so that because they can see it because they will be able to open it. Just an FYI. So does anyone else have any other questions or you have suggestions, etc., about the use of hypothesis?
I'll venture that this will be the first full term that anyone has used image annotation. So whatever feedback you have, good or bad, feel free to forward it to me so that we can make adjustments to the feature. Or if you have a great, assignment or wonderful thing that happened that you think would be helpful for me to share with other faculty I talk to, I'd love to hear about that too. So that I'll just put it on your radars for the next term.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Any other questions or comments? I, like I said, this is an assignment I give every single week for the entire term. This is one of the regulars because of the readings and the ability to dig into the readings and the encouragement for students to actually do the reading. And so I can't emphasize this enough. And I hope that you use the tool. And like I said, between myself, Jen's here too as our DE coordinator of student engagement and support. And then we have wonderful support people at Hypothesis. They're very quick to help. So just, we've got a lot of help with the tool. So I really encourage you to add this to your repertoire. So thank you, Jessica, for coming. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And if you have other questions, please let me know or ideas. Thank you, everybody.